Andrew Meetrich here, and we've got some really critical updates that absolutely demand your attention. You know, I used to be right inside one of those massive, well-known media outlets, and I saw firsthand how narratives were twisted, how facts were bent to fit a predetermined agenda, and eventually I just had to walk away. Now I'm out here on my own, completely independent, speaking my mind, connecting the dots, and giving you the unvarnished truth about what's genuinely happening in our world. If you appreciate that kind of unfiltered insight, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring that notification bell. It truly helps this independent voice reach more people. And if you feel compelled to support this work, consider becoming a sponsor. Your backing makes a real difference in keeping this mission alive. All right, let's dive into some significant announcements. Starting with the head of the European Commission. The European Union has, once again, greenlit a substantial aid package worth over €500 million to bolster the development of renewable energy sources across Africa. Ursula von der Leyen, the Commission's chief, made this announcement with what seemed like a good deal of fanfare, clearly aiming to preempt any accusations of a lack of transparency later on. This particular package, part of a broader initiative called Scaling Up Renewable Energy in Africa, allocates a whopping €545 million specifically for this purpose. Von der Leyen, in her usual straightforward manner, explained all this, ensuring that European taxpayers know exactly where their money is supposedly going. Naturally, it's all for good causes, right? The narrative is that this shift to clean energy will create jobs, foster stability, drive growth, and help achieve those ever-elusive global climate goals. That's how von der Leyen championed this latest multi-million euro aid package. And of course, she didn't shy away from patting herself on the back, declaring that, thanks to the Global Gateway Plan, the European Union is fully committed to supporting Africa on its path to clean energy. So, despite these turbulent times we're living through, it appears Africa isn't going to be forgotten, not by any means. But while some are focused on energy, others are looking at demographics. Manfred Weber, the leader of the European People's Party, who's notoriously close to Ursula von der Leyen, has been quite vocal in warmly welcoming the perceived benefits of immigration to Europe. Weber went out of his way to emphasize that migration is a force that enhances the diversity of European cities, making them even more varied, as he put it. He even suggested that cities are, in some ways, transforming their very appearance because of it. Moreover, according to Weber, the stories of migrants should be universally presented as stories of triumph and achievement. That's quite a statement from Manfred. And speaking to the profound importance of this migration, he called for much clearer, more direct communication on the matter, insisting it should be discussed everywhere, even, and I quote, in every beer tent. This is the European Parliament member and leader of the European People's Party speaking, folks, making his priorities crystal clear. And, rather predictably at the same time, Weber issued a stern warning against the Alternative for Germany, or AfD, and other right-leaning parties within the European community. Instead, he's pushing for the Christian Democratic Union and the Christian Social Union, essentially Friedrich Merz's alliance, to retain the option of forming coalitions with the Greens. It's worth noting that Manfred Weber has been a close ally of European Commission head Ursula von der Leyen for many years. Much like von der Leyen, Weber has been instrumental in advancing certain green proposals. For instance, the controversial upcoming ban on internal combustion engines across the entire European Union. Weber has also made headlines in the past, famously backing Angela Merkel's slogan, "We can do this, we will manage it." In short, he's one of those key political figures through whom the entire agenda for the European Union is often shaped. Now, moving over to Germany at almost the exact same time, the widely recognized Prime Minister of Bavaria, Markus Söder, alongside Germany's Federal Minister of the Interior, Alexander Dobrindt, voiced a clear desire to significantly improve drone defense capabilities. According to Söder, Bavarian police need to be empowered to intercept drones swiftly and independently, rather than having to wait for external authorization. He stated this must be a definite priority, emphasizing that state police should collaborate with the Bundeswehr, the armed forces, on this issue. Consequently, a relevant state law is already in the pipeline for approval. Furthermore, a dedicated Bavarian drone center, which has already been established, is tasked with developing specialized interceptor drones and hunter drones. These plans are currently high on the agenda, and it's important to note, not just in Germany. But here's where the plot thickens a bit. Germany's Defense Minister, Boris Pistorius, has, for some reason, expressed skepticism regarding the concept of a drone wall to protect Eastern European countries. While he values the idea of such a defensive barrier, he believes it could realistically take 3, maybe even 4 years to implement. A quick deployment just isn't feasible, he argues, because it demands far greater capabilities and capacities than are currently available. The Minister of Defense also pointedly remarked that there's no time to waste, as the threat continues to escalate. Now, speaking of threats and defense, military experts are far from pleased with the current state of the Bundeswehr, Germany's armed forces. The criticism is pretty stark, folks. They claim that out of 180,000 military personnel, less than half actually serve in combat units. There are simply too many administrators and far too few actual soldiers in the army. Almost 1 in 4 military personnel is an officer, which points to a massive imbalance. This disproportionately large number of older staff officers who've been performing administrative tasks for years within what's clearly an excessively cumbersome structure means that, as it stands today, an army focused on operational success is simply not viable. There's no getting around that inconvenient truth. The core reason for this bloated Bundeswehr bureaucracy, these experts argue, lies in the long decades of peace. In a peacetime army, they say, it's not the best military outcome that gets rewarded, but rather the flawlessly executed process. That's the diagnosis. In such a structure, nobody wants to make decisions or bear responsibility, but now they insist all of this needs a complete overhaul, a fundamental change. And that, my friends, is no easy task. Now let's pivot to some more immediate ground-level news from Germany, which I'm afraid brings another unsettling incident to light. An altercation occurred at Stuttgart's main train station. A 25-year-old man from Mali reportedly attacked and kicked federal police officers. According to police accounts, the incident unfolded directly in the waiting area of the main station. The man initially got into an argument with a 44-year-old station employee. Federal police were, of course, called to the scene. Officers attempted to escort the unruly individual out of the hall, but he repeatedly kicked them, and a security guard also sustained impacts. It was only after additional emergency services were called for backup that the man was eventually brought under control and transported to a police station. After all police procedures were completed, the citizen from Mali was released. However, a 26-year-old federal police officer was hospitalized, though authorities assure us she is doing well. This leads us to another European development. The Dutch government is looking to significantly tighten its citizenship requirements for foreigners. The Netherlands government has proposed increasing the minimum residency period for obtaining citizenship from the current 5 years to a full 10 years. Under this proposal, applicants would not only need to reside in the Netherlands continuously for a decade, but also demonstrate full integration into Dutch society, which would undoubtedly complicate the naturalization process for many. These are some pretty stringent methods they're looking to adopt. Now, shifting gears to one of the most widely discussed topics of the moment, and I mean loudly discussed, is the price of gold. It has just hit a brand new record, soaring above $3,850 per ounce this afternoon in Europe, increasing by over 1% in a single day. Experts are attributing this surge to growing investor anxieties over a potential U.S. government shutdown. Today, President Donald Trump and the Republican Party are meeting with Democrats to discuss a short-term spending bill in an attempt to avert this very government closure. Republicans need at least 7 votes from the Democrats to pass this legislation. And as is often the case, the Democrats are, shall we say, creating difficulties, to put it mildly. In general, experts are pointing to a significant level of uncertainty in the markets, which is what's driving investors into what they call safe havens, like gold. This precious metal is perceived as a more stable option during challenging times, according to analysts at Deutsche Bank, one of Germany's and Europe's largest financial institutions. In fact, experts from Deutsche Bank believe the price of gold will continue to climb. One of the primary reasons for this price hike, and I emphasize this comes directly from the specialists, is political crises and the conflicts that seem to be inescapable in our world. Amidst all this uncertainty, many investors are moving into gold, seeing it as a reliable hedge against inflation. And now for an interesting and somewhat bizarre moment of the day involving Greta Thunberg. There's a new scandal brewing on board the pro-Palestinian flotilla, led by Greta Thunberg, which is currently sailing towards Gaza on what is ostensibly a humanitarian mission. The issue, it turns turns out is that the flotilla includes both Islamists and queer activists, individuals with non-traditional views. This combination has perhaps inevitably sparked conflict. For this group, it's a serious blow, especially since they have consistently repeated the mantra of their movement's unity. Well, it seems that unity isn't quite as solid as they claimed. As a result of this internal strife, Greta Thunberg is reportedly no longer part of the so-called executive committee that coordinates this flotilla. Her photo isn't even on its website anymore. Nevertheless, Greta's representatives state that she will remain on board as a regular voluntary participant. So Greta, it seems, doesn't want to be the leader of this particular group, as you can now clearly see. We'll be watching closely to see what unfolds next. The participants, for now, are sailing along at a leisurely pace, apparently. In total, 47 boats are reportedly heading towards Gaza. However, their chances of actually reaching their destination are virtually non-existent. Israel maintains a naval blockade around the Gaza Strip, so the most interesting parts of this saga are likely still ahead. But rest assured, I believe I'll be the first to bring you all the details as they happen. So these are the key informational moments for today, folks, revealing quite a bit about the state of our world. Before we wrap up, let's quickly recap what we've discussed. The EU is pouring €500 million into African renewable energy, a move championed by Ursula von der Leyen. Meanwhile, Manfred Weber is actively promoting migration and advocating for center-left coalitions in Germany, while simultaneously raising concerns about the Bundeswehr's operational readiness and Germany's drone defense. We also touched upon a disturbing incident at Stuttgart's main station, the Netherlands looking to toughen citizenship rules, and gold prices hitting record highs amidst US government shutdown fears and global instability. And of course, the developing drama with Greta Thunberg's Gaza flotilla, revealing internal conflicts and a shifting leadership role.